What's the story behind starting Outzidr? What led to it?
Before I left India in 2018, and when I look at now, there has been a dramatic shift in how people consume fashion, especially the younger audience. And there are very, very few brands which are operating for this consumer.
Would love to understand, what is the magic that happens at the back end to make this happen.
Technically, what you do, you test with low MOQ and then go for a deeper buys. So primarily to execute this, there are three defining pillars. One is rapid demand sensing, quick fabric sourcing, and third is rapid garmenting.
Would love to understand our ideal customer. If you could paint a picture, who is this Gen Z customer that we are going after?
Our ideal consumer profile is the young woman. She is the one who is getting deeply influenced by the global offerings, the global trends. She at the same time has an understanding of differentiated dressing sense for different occasions in her life. And this is a change which has happened over the last 4 or 5 years.
But what is it that we will do differently? Why will we react faster than a Zudio?
To answer your question,
Welcome Nirmal, Mani and Justin. I'll quickly, for our audience, share your backgrounds. So, Nirmal, before starting Outzidr, you were the CEO of Styli,
Yes.
a Middle East focused fast fashion company under the Landmark Group's umbrella, where I believe you scaled that company from scratch to about 1,000 crores in top line in a span of 5 to 6 years.
yeah.
And prior to that, you were with McKinsey and Myntra and then McKinsey
Yeah, and Incref.
and Incref.
Yes.
And Mani, prior to that, I believe that you were the business head of the online business at Max Fashion India.
Sure.
And prior to that, again at Incref and Myntra, where I believe you crossed paths with Nirmal.
Correct. So we go a long way in that sense.
And Justin, you were chief operating officer at a Middle Eastern company. And prior to that, at Styli, where again, I think you worked closely with Nirmal and a few more experiences prior to that. So welcome all three of you. It's rarely that we see such a stellar team starting in fashion, where all three founders coming from the domain. And of course, I know for a fact that you just don't come from the domain, but you carry a proven track record of achievement in the respective domain. So very, very excited to do this. I guess we started talking sometime around mid of last year, and then of course signed term sheet in the second half of last year.
Yep.
Good to see the launch in January this year and some of the early traction that we are seeing. Very, very excited to see at least some of the thesis come to light, or at least early signs.
Yeah.
Just to articulate very quickly our thesis, there were largely three pillars to our thesis. The first was the market itself. We feel the affordable fast fashion market for Gen Z's and specifically young females is a very, very attractive one. We all know of very, very large informal markets that exist in this category. This is both a large market, fast growing market, carry a high frequency of purchase. And I think with this Instagram first youth, I think just expanding very, very fast. The second, at least, pillar of our thesis was the very unique solution approach that you had, at least compared to competition, which is, online test and then a quick react approach, which I know that you will talk subsequently. And the third, of course, was the biggest, which is, I think, just the three of you. We at least, I think, did feel that, you were indeed the perfect team to execute this very, very tough business, which only we have garnered more appreciation for in the last couple of months since our launch. Let's kick this off with the inception itself. So, Nirmal, I mean, you were well settled at Styli in Dubai.
Yep.
What's the story behind, moving back to India, starting Outzidr? What led to it?
So, firstly, Mayank, thank you for the introduction. So, there are two parts to this entire evolution, right? The reason for coming back to India and the reason for, let's say, Outzidr. Reason for coming back to India was largely a personal one. So, I think so it's been on my mind for the last couple of years to shift back to India for certain reasons, and therefore, around May last year, I shifted back to India. Reason for Outzidr. I think I would say three factors. First is before I left India in 2018, and when I look at now, there has been a dramatic shift in how people consume fashion, especially the younger audience. And within younger audience, young female, the level of trendiness that the consumer demands. I mean, and the kind of products that people prefer today, there's been a dramatic shift. So there was clearly one observable insight that, okay, the consumption patterns are dramatically shifting. So that was one trigger. Secondly, I think if you look at the supply ecosystem in India, while there is an unorganized segment, but frankly, there are hardly very, very few brands which are of significance operating in this segment and operating for this consumer. So I think this is a largely underserved market. That's two. And I would say the third thing is that having built a business around a similar operating model in Middle East, frankly, that gives us a lot of confidence that, okay, this is something that we could pull together. So these are the three reasons for doing Outsider: a shift or an inflection in consumption, a supply ecosystem which was not fully geared up, and our past experiences in actually having operated in a similar domain in both international context as well as in India.
I mean, sometimes as investors, we don't realize that Instagram, uh, YouTube Shorts, and whatnot
Yeah.
have just become such a household brand that it's only 5-7 years.
Yep.
You know, back before it really started getting mainstream adoption.
Yeah.
And I think at least even in our diligence, it clearly came across all the youth is now very, very aware of not just Indian trends in Bollywood, cricket, and whatnot,
Yeah.
but also global trends.
Absolutely.
And thanks to both Indian and global influencers, I think just the awareness has shot through the roof. And then the next step of awareness, of course, is aspiration to have that piece of clothing. Um, Also, I think Nirmal would be worthwhile, at least we have spoken about this in the past. I think one is, of course, the demand side, but I believe there are some supply side tailwinds as well
Yes.
to make the entire model happen.
Yeah.
So, also briefly touch upon that, what has changed on the supply side over the last 5 odd years.
In fact, that's been another evolution, right? If you look at the market, so the nature of this category is such that because there are so many trends, you have to disproportionately index on a lot of newness in your offering. But fashion is inherently risky as well if you take deep bets. But one surprising thing and good thing that has happened is that the ecosystem in India, especially on the manufacturing side, if you look at it, has significantly evolved and is now much more open to low MOQ manufacturing. Let's say 10 years ago, I would say it'll be very hard for you to convince a manufacturer to operate anything less than 500 pieces or 1,000 pieces. Now, in the last 3 to 5 years, the ecosystem has evolved, and you have manufacturers who are willing to support you with MOQ of as less as 80 pieces, right? Now that makes it much more, let's say, tenable to do a test and react model, which we'll talk about in a bit. But that's been one big shift. The second shift I would say is that the fabric ecosystem in India has also evolved quite a bit. This wasn't the case like a few years ago. So these two factors are also leading to more viability and let's say tenability of actually doing this entire business.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I think once that idea inception happened, then would also love to, hear stories on how did three of you as a team, how did you guys come together?
Okay. So I'll start with me and Mani. Yeah, so we've known each other since 2015. So both of us worked together in Myntra. So that's when our journey began, I think. And then we again worked together in Incref, where Mani was heading the entire merchandising product. We're trying to build a very innovative, a data-led solution to optimize inventory. So I think, and then post that also we've been in touch. So there's a long history to this relationship. We know each other. There is mutual trust. There's mutual respect. There's a fair degree of alignment to the values, and there's always been this desire to build something meaningful and substantial. So I think when I came back to India, we had conversations, and frankly, it didn't take much for us to move ahead. Justin and I, as I said, or rather you, as you put in intro as well, we worked together in Styly for almost 5 years. and Justin was managed in a very difficult market. Justin was able to build a world-class supply chain. I think, and then of course that's a kind of impact that he was able to deliver. But knew Justin at a personal level as well. So therefore, again, when I came back to India, had a chat with him, and given his experiences in China, in Saudi, and also in India through Rivigo and ZWorks, I think, and our personal understanding, uh, I reached out and he said yes in a yeah, in a minute. So I think that's how it happened. Yeah,
I can completely imagine Justin only taking a minute.
yeah,
Thankfully, it was. I think it was good to go through the journey with you, because I think the very first time that when we spoke,
yeah,
I think at that time you were still at the inception stage. It was, I think, just you, and I think you were trying to understand more about the market. The next set of conversations that we had, then I think it was you and Money, and then eventually
the
the
three of
three
us.
of you. So at least
Yeah.
we had seen you gone through that journey. Uh, Money, would love to come to you. Would love to understand our ideal customer in a little bit more detail. If you could paint a picture, who is this, Gen Z customer that we are going after, and what are the specific use cases or clothing categories that we are at least trying to serve for this customer?
Great. So we have touched a bit on that, but our ideal consumer profile is a young woman. She is the one who is getting deeply influenced by the global offerings, the global trends. She, at the same time, has an understanding of differentiated dressing sense for different occasions in her life. And this is a change which has happened over the last 4 or 5 years. At the same time, this audience is someone who understands trendiness. She's the one who understands about the uniqueness of a product. More importantly, she shops at a very high frequency, and at the same time, she is the one who is very, very price conscious as well. So this is a typical profile of a Gen Z audience in India today, and they're very, very aware about it.
Very interesting. And, you know, I understand that I think we are trying to address the going out use case. Uh, but even within that, there are so many use cases. So, at least, what are some of the going out use cases that we are planning to focus on for this customer?
So if you look at the audience, right, this audience is getting deeply influenced by the social media, right? In fact, I think probably most likely the most impactful authority which comes in their life is from social media influencers, from the celebrities. They're well aware about the global trends. They're also well aware that a occasion itself is not a vacation wear, say for example. There are micro occasions leading to that. Say for example, a vacation wear which used to be vacation 5 years back is no longer a vacation wear only. It gets further subdivided into micro occasions. Say for example, airport look is very differentiated from a resort look, is very differentiated from a beach wear, and is very, very differentiated from a city walk. So the going out need is no longer a big umbrella of going out only. It gets further classified, and they're fully aware about the differentiated products which caters to those need states. So we are now dealing with an audience who is not aware at the country level. She is the one who is fully aware about what happened last evening in Paris. So that's what the customer is.
I think probably one evidence that maybe at least I am aging is when you stop relating to this young customer and
Yeah.
Money that you just described. And Money, you spoke about this person wanting, trendy wear. I mean, what is the inward and outward motivation for trendy wear? Is it just to, for more inward looking, or is it to get noticed? Or, I mean, why is trendy so important?
See, the lives have changed over last 5, 6 years because of the impact of social media. Your persona is also getting truly defined by what your digital footprints are. And in some sense, what is getting captured at Instagram defines your life to some extent, right? And hence, it is important that you are up against the trend. You are up there when it comes to knowing some of those trends which are prevailing, and at the same time capturing it in your own life. And hence, the consumer behavior is getting defined.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And in terms of categories, I mean, there are so many categories. There is top wear. Within top wear, there is dresses, shirts and whatnot. And similarly, in bottom wear, accessories. Are there, Is there any category focus that we have?
See, this is also a process of evolution which has happened, right? If we go a decade back, ethnic wear used to be a dominant category in the country, right? And my sense is for the first time ever, there is a target audience called Gen-Z. And if you look at their lives very closely, Western wear is far more dominant than ethnic wear. And Western wear as a category is far more global also because it is all across, right? All the countries in the globe, everyone is wearing Western wear, right? Ethnic is perceived to be Indian wear, right? And so in that sense, you have Western wear, which is deeply getting defined by global trends. And hence the need state is coming that you have to be up against the trend, you have to be following the trend of the globe. And that's how the consumer behavior is getting completely defined. Some of the categories which really helps in Western wear category to define your persona are dresses. You cannot go into a party wear when there is not a party dress. A dress is no longer a dress only. There is a classification for the occasion. So I think one big change which has happened is that it's not category. It's the occasion which is defining the category now. So that's how the consumer has started buying.
Very interesting.
And in fact, it's no longer party dress, I would say. The dress for a clubbing versus the dress for an evening occasion, the dress for a brunch party. I think the offering requirements is actually vastly different.
Okay.
And that's where we as a brand are stepping in that, okay, whatever be the need state, whatever be that micro occasion, we have an outfit for you. And that's what we're working. So it's, as Mani said, categories are a way to fulfill a micro occasion. So our starting point is categories. The micro occasions rather than the categories.
Very interesting. But will it be fair to say that we are putting a boundary condition on at least Western wear, or do we plan to also do ethnic wear?
So I think if you look at the going out occasion in a young woman's life, most of the occasions, fortunately, unfortunately, are getting defined by this category. And hence, if you have to make a stake claim at that positioning, I think Western wear is the entry door for sure. And I think for the time being, we're concentrating there. We will have to do a fairly good job at it to make a claim.
And these, when we say young females, these are what, senior school goers, college goers, first, second jobbers.
Typically, we are defining age bracket as someone who enters college from there till motherhood, because once the motherhood happens, there are a lot of changes which happens in the preferences of the outfit. So typically from college journey to a motherhood journey is where we are defining our core target audience.
And Money, again to you. Of course, there are informal market and there are some brands who are also trying to serve this customer. So, in terms of our value proposition, which is the vector that we plan to shine on?
So I think the first and foremost one is that you have to be absolutely on trend. You can't miss it because a customer is well informed. She many times is far more informed than most of the brands present in the ecosystem because she is getting the direct feed from social media, which is not even hourly away, right? So I think you will have to be absolutely on trend. Her buying behavior is also getting defined with the need state of being on trend, which means that her shopping frequency will be higher. And at the same time, it has to be light on the wallet. It has to be very price sensitive also. So the sharper you're on your price point and you're on trend, I think will make you fit with this audience.
Understood. So it's very clear that basically, I think in terms of, on trend,
Yeah.
I think we want to be known in the minds of our customers.
Absolutely.
That when they think, trendy fashion, they think of Outsider.
Yep, yep. In fact, I will add to that, Mike, right? We believe that in few years from now, if a young girl thinks of going out occasion and fashion needs associated with it, and she happens to be thinking of Outsider as the first name in her mind, I think we are home. We have done a credible job. That's what is the line of sight for us.
Now, of course, this is easier said. I understand the back-end complexity to make this happen, because what we are really saying is, as and when trends are, coming out, which is happening on a continuous basis, Indian trends, global trends, we basically be the first ones to, translate that trend to, pieces of clothing on the shelf for the customers to buy. So, Justin, over to you. Would love to understand, what is the magic that happens at the back end to make this happen?
So coming back to this test and react, right? So technically what you do, you test with low MOQ and then go for a deeper buys. So primarily to execute this, there are three defining pillars, what we call. One is rapid demand sensing, and let's say quick fabric sourcing, and third is rapid garmenting. So these three, if you're able to execute well, then I mean that works on their complete ecosystem. Yeah.
So what you're saying is, let's say there is a trend, you identify it, you think, this might work. So you quickly work with a garmenter and put out, let's say, 50 to 100 pieces of that clothing and quickly test online to see is it working with the customer and not. And when you say deeper buys, only if it works is when you place large volume orders with your garmenters.
Yes. So that's how it goes. Yeah.
Very interesting.
And just to build on what Justin said, right, I think the three pillars, one about rapid demand sensing, there's a lot of, it's largely an analytics and a data problem. Because it involves identifying, okay, here are the trends which we believe is worth taking even a smaller MOQ, because the trends are enormous and each trend can be manifested as a product in so many ways, right? I think so. Using signals from different sources, I think that's part one. Part two, around on the fabric procurement bit. Now again, figuring out the right fabric in the shortest possible time with the available sources has its own complex. So you need an ecosystem around it. So we're building a strong partner base for that. And rapid garmenting, I think again, access to capacity as and when you need it is again very tricky. So you need partners, or you need captive capacity that can help you.
I mean,
Yeah.
the journey would be inevitably you will be having a hybrid model. So you might have your own way of garmenting, plus also you work with outsourced. So that should be the ideal scenario. Yeah.
Right. And at least I think what the industry calls as merchandising or buying, which I think Nirmal, you were referring to, that amongst the maze of things that potentially can translate to trend or not.
Yeah.
I think this having this judgment on of the 100 things what to pick
Yeah.
and even experiment with, because you can't do everything.
Yeah.
And there at least this is a very, very unique skill set. This some call it buying judgment, and would love to understand that what had been some of your learnings from the styly days on buying judgment, or is this a skill set that you honed during the styly days, Nirmal?
So every company will evolve on the skill depending on the consumers you're serving. I think, but if you look at the way we are sort of looking at it right now, the filtering process, or the way we apply our judgment, one is obviously it has to fit with the overall brand proposition, which is it has to fit in with a micro occasion. The product has to be relevant. Two, it has to qualify a trend filter, that it cannot be, and three, it has to meet a certain price point as well. Now the complexity comes in, okay, translation of trend to product. I think that's where a lot of judgment gets applied, and that's an evolution you go through, right? I think, and that evolution happens on the back of data that you collect on how customers engage with different products, both on your site as well as beyond your site. And then also, it's also got to do a bit of judgment of the person involved. So it's a mix of both the things, and that's how you sort of narrow down the choices. So again, fit with brand proposition or the micro occasions, trendiness, price. These are like hygiene caps, and then of course you start applying within the trend product fitment and consumer fitment that you perceive will be appropriate.
And I distinctly remember, I think during our conversations, you give many examples of some very unique to Indian sensibilities
Yes.
that one has to take into account in translating a trend to a product.
Absolutely.
Actually, one or two examples there would be very, very helpful.
I think as a brand, we have taken a stance so far that we won't be too edgy. I think, to put it in simple terms, we would like to be a brand that is serving or that's offering trendy products that are appropriate for a larger segment of the audience. We don't want to box ourselves into too edgy a space, and there are brands who play in that space. So let's say you pick a trend. Let's say tube. Tube is a very fitted garment. Now you can manifest that trend in different ways. You can have it like in a very edgy club wear, or you can have it in a slightly more let's say longer length and let's say appropriate for a brunch occasion as well. We would rather slightly lean more towards, let's say, a product which is more acceptable rather than being too edgy. I think that's one example. So taking tube as an example, tube trend as an example, and then manifesting that as a product which is more appropriate for a larger audience. Yeah, and we've got data now in the 2 months of trading that we've got that, and it's reinforcing that belief. I think, and if we and we believe that there is a massively valuable opportunity if we can continue to get this right, and become a brand of salience for our consumers.
Justin, I'd like to go back to you. I think one of the things that you spoke about is rapid garmenting.
Yeah.
I understand that, of course, we want rapid garmenting out of our partner garmenters. But what is the value proposition for a garmenter to do this for us? Because I think, they, of course, economically don't make enough money from this small MOQ rapid garmenting. So why should they do this for us?
See, on rapid garmenting, so technically you need to solve the problems for the manufacturer, right? I mean, help him to identifying the sourcing. I mean, sourcing the right fabric, help him to source the right fabric, help him with sampling. And then obviously we know this product is going to be high repeat rates, right? All our styles are like having a massive high repeat rates. So then when the repeat comes, so help him with capacity and also help him with incentivize him to prioritize these rebuys. So if we are able to solve this problem in the ecosystem, fabric sourcing, help him on sampling, help him with capacity, so then you are also, I mean, this is your extended partner, right? I mean, so end of the day, he should be able to support us. Yeah.
So it's not just MOQs, but basically MOQs leading to deeper rebuys,
Yeah.
which will, make the economic rationale for the garmenter.
I think with all practical experience, we can say that garmenters don't make money in the low MOQ. They make money when the rebuy happens, and as long as you can assure deeper rebuys at a certain rate, the relationship has mutual value.
Love to move to the next topic, which is I think just understanding the competitive landscape. Of course, there are very, very deep informal markets coming from Delhi. I mean, Sarojini Nagar, at least during my time, used to be the go-to market for young females to buy fashionable clothes. And similar markets in Bangalore, etc. But there doesn't seem to be too many brands, organized brands in this space. Would love to understand, why is that so, and broader commentary on our competitive landscape, Nirmal.
Yeah. You actually hit the nail on the head. It's a very hard business to build. So if you look at fashion business, you can organize, I mean, you can segment yourself into three parts, right? A business that operates with predictable, not riskier merchandise, proven merchandise, repetitive, and that's where bulk of the organized market sits in India today. They may not be trend first, but they work on basics and elevated basics kind of products, and that model works. Now, but and the second segment is basically fashion companies who may not be very agile, but let's say can react to a trend in anywhere between 3 to 6 months. You will also find a set of labels in India who sort of play that game. The challenge comes when you want to be quick to react, in the sense that because that requires strong, like I would say, very, very agile product development, agile demand sensing, as we spoke about, and then agile garmenting. Cracking this capability at scale is an incredibly hard problem. It is not easy. And then there are commercial risks, because if you don't get it right, you can immediately get saddled with inventory, and once you're saddled with inventory, it's not easy to come out quickly, right? So it's a tough problem. It's a very tough business to be in, and that's why you find very, very few organized players in this segment. And as we spoke about test and react, right? Without a strong operating model of test and react, frankly, you cannot have it is very hard to build a profitable, viable, and sustainable business in this space, which is trend led. If you look at the competitive landscape, while trend is a filter, but our overarching brand positioning is one of going out. I think we want to be, a lot of women, let's say, search for dress for party or dress for or say airport looks. I think no brand in India has actually taken that positioning consciously yet. We'll be the first to do it. And I don't see any brand in India yet who is working towards actively building that positioning as well. So in some ways, in this space of going out wear, will be the first to the market. But if you look at, let's say, women's Western wear focused brands, there are quite a few in the market. But are all of them trend first, and are they reacting fast enough? I think the market is still evolving there. That's how I'll sort of define the competitive landscape.
And I think one brand, of course, is I understand it's an offline only brand, which is the Tata Group Zudio.
Zudio, yep.
But it has been quite a story over the last, especially 6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
And at least, especially over the last 2 to 3 years, I think one can clearly see many Zudio outlets
Yes.
proliferate around, all of us. I think that is just hard to not take a notice of.
Absolutely.
I understand. I mean, we are of course a lot more sharper, but still, I mean, would love to also get a commentary as to, why will we react faster than a Zudio?
Sure.
They at least aspire to be trendy,
Yep.
but what is it that we will do differently?
Yeah. So I think Zudio has done an incredible job in execution. I think if you look at their value proposition, it's affordability is right there, and secondly, in terms of level of trendiness, I wouldn't say that they are actually they are definitely trend forward. But given the nature of their business, they can only operate with a finite width, and so there'll always be a very hard set of filters that they will have to apply, given the floor space restriction, right? What they have done well is, as I said, affordable, like extremely sharply priced merchandise, and also being trend led, though narrow on trends. Let me put it that way. And thirdly, they have been very clear that they've taken conscious calls of not playing for certain occasions. I mean, they're happy to let go, let's say, a club wear. They're happy to let go a premium evening wear. I think that's what they have done, and it's worked out quite well for them because customers have a real understanding of why they walk into Zudio. There are lessons for us from how they have accomplished being true to the value prop, and that's what we are trying to do as we build our brand. Just
I think I will add a point there.
Yeah.
So Zudio has been very, very respectable. That's inspiration. It's a phenomenon in some sense in the Indian market. But if you look at it, they are offline driven. They're only offline. They have chosen a strategy not to be present on digital. Now the point is that if you are an offline giant and you have to take a bet on identifying the trend, you still will have to take a substantial inventory bet because you'll have to spread it in the offline. And digital provides you an opportunity to sense the demand at a much faster rate. Because the footprints are much larger. There are signals before the conversion actually happens. So you can read those conversions if you're data driven. Probably with lesser inventory bets, you can lesser inventory bet, and more importantly, faster time. You can sense the demand. And if you have a agile supply chain and ecosystem developed around it to replicate into bet, I think you can take a bet there. So this is where we are intending to be differentiated from Zudio in that sense. I think it's a big name. While I'm saying, I'm thinking whether I should actually say this. But we are taking a bet to be different from Zudio in that sense, hoping that demand sensing will be much faster because of digital presence.
Right. And a follow-on question on online testing, which at least online test and then quick react post is the heart of our supply model. So for example, I get a garmenter to make 50 pieces of a clothing that I think may work.
Yeah.
I put it online on our website, on our app. Then how do I get to know, if, this will, if I should, do a deeper rebuy on this or not, if this will work or not? What are those signals that you were talking about?
I think they're very early signals. So the actual transaction comes later. In fact, the first and foremost one is when you're working closely with influencers. You will realize what they are liking, what they're picking. In itself, in some sense, a signal that what a fashion forward Gen Z audience is liking. So that's one soft signal which you get immediately. The moment you have your styles live, that's one. Then the moment you are into Instagram and your marketing elements come into play, you get to see the CTRs of the product. You get to see the lower parts of the funnel, the mid part of the funnel, how many people have, put it in cart. And all those signals, if you capture, you very clearly see that those bets which are playing out gets differentiated even before the buying starts. and that's where you get the signals. In offline, as a comparison, unfortunately, the only real sense of signal which you get is when the conversion happens, right? But in online, there are these things which comes into play within hours of you going live. And that's where if you are capturing these signals well, and you have developed agility around the reproduce of it, I think you can test this style with even 12, 13 pieces.
That's a very, very nuanced point that I think we are tracking so many signals from top all the way across the funnel, while I think an offline company will only track the bottom of the funnel, and they will have to push the inventory in a certain amount of offline stores. Every offline store will have a certain reach, but online will have a national reach.
In fact, I will add a point there, Mank. The way young audience and young ladies especially are shopping is that, first of all, they will come to your website, they will go through your offerings, they will curate it and make it a wish list. They may not shop it there. So wish listing itself is a signal. And then comes the next subsequent, lower down the funnel. So it works that way.
And typically, how many days post launch will you conclude on a certain design, whether it is a bestseller or not a bestseller?
So some of the designs which have worked for us, we have been able to conclude in 7 days straight, 1 week. And some of those things are typically 2 weeks. So 2 weeks, most of it we know whether it is working, it is not working.
Mani, let me ask this before going to Nirmal. Would love to get your overall commentary on the go-to-market strategy. I understand that we have started with both in terms of channels and more overall strategy. I know that we have started with our website and now slowly getting into marketplaces, but do provide an overall commentary, also the role of EBOs down the road.
So there are two important points, right? One is the convenience. These customers are very closer to the market or the channels which are very, very convenient to them. So convenience is one of the foremost thing. The second important part is discoverability. We are keeping these two as guiding principles for us to have our channel strategy defined for us. And hence we have started with our D2C, which is already live. We'll be live with our app also in next 2-3 weeks. That's one. We have gone ahead with our partners, the biggest platforms in the country, where GenZ's tend to be finding more. They happen to be, say, for example, Forward of Myntra or Agiogram and Nykaa Fashion. So these are the platforms we are already live on. We intend to be going live with our offline in 3 to 4 quarters. At the same time, because of convenience factor, we believe that quick commerce will come into play. So we are serious about scouting and finding the right partner for us when it comes to quick commerce, because we believe that the convenience and discoverability both will come into play in quick commerce as well.
I'll just add one point there. I think one unique aspect about Western wear as a category is that it's a very trial-intensive category. You go to an H&M or a Zara or any of these Western wear focused brands, right? You'll always see a long line of queue waiting outside the trial because of the. So frankly, a model that allows for trial is actually quite essential as part of our channel strategy. Quick commerce actually fits in there because it's quick trial and let's say it fits. And EBOs by extension also fit into that because of the convenience of trial.
One of the things that at least I heard from a private equity investor friend of mine is often for fashion outlets, the bottleneck to sale during the peak times is the
Trial room.
number of trial rooms.
Yeah, absolutely true.
So I think we should think of that as we look to open ours.
I think far more for women's wear.
Yeah.
Also, Nirmal, give us a flavor of, I know it's a very, very early days, but still, what has been the traction thus far and what are some of our goals on a going forward basis?
So I think we've been trading for 2 months now, and we've been very positively surprised by the traction. So let's say within 2 months, we are already now at a annualized run rate of upwards of 10 crores. I think given the channel plans we have and the kind of momentum we're seeing, we're hopeful that we should cross 100 crore annualized run rate in the 6 to 8 months window. I think the few reasons why this momentum is, we're seeing this momentum as well. One, I think our product offering has been rapidly evolving. We're already like 3,000 options on the site. We intend to add 2,000 options every month. And we've built that supply infrastructure around it. So that's one. I think we have also established a fairly strong partner ecosystem. We work with 30 odd factories, almost 30 factories in the country today. So that allows us to react faster. So the model, the test and react model is also evolving fast. And thirdly, I think our ruthless focus on ensuring that we keep improving on product, we keep improving on operations, we keep improving on demand sensing every day. I think we believe that that will create more and more value for our consumers. So I think these are the early numbers are quite encouraging, and we hope to continue with the same path.
This is a framework I learned from you, Nirmal,
Okay.
which is basically during our conversations, one of the ways I think you think of it is getting the product out
Yeah.
and then trading.
Yeah.
Could be across channels, whether
Yeah.
it is your own D2C channels, marketplace channels, potentially EBO channels, quick commerce channels, etc. But I think that is what you refer to as trading.
Yeah.
Uh, Initially, in the first conversation when you mentioned trading, I got confused because trading is, especially in B2B commerce models, trading just buying and selling.
Oh, yeah.
But at
Great.
least that was my learning on the framework. One question for all of you, of course. We were, of course, lucky to have you partner with us. But what were some of the reasons why you decided to partner with us? Because I know you had options.
Should I go first? Yeah. I think as a guiding principle for us, among all three of us, I think we want to work with good partners, be it investors, be it factories, be it technology partners. I think one very important criteria for us that we want to work with people who believe in us, take a slightly longer term view, and I think, and also there is a bit of values alignment. Honestly, with Stellaris, over 2-3 conversations, it was very, very clear to me, and then of course to both Mani and also Justin will echo this, that I could feel that okay, there was an alignment of values. You were committed to building a great business. We are committed to building a great business. You're taking a slightly longer term view, and which is important in a business like this. And I think the chemistry of the overall conversation and the kind of transparency we had during those conversations, frankly, was to me like an important criteria. In fact, I would say that thanks for believing in us. It's the other way around as well. But yeah, to answer your question, those were the key reasons why actually this marriage happened, I would say.
Also, I felt that at least with you guys, our process was a little unique because often our conversations became brainstorming
Absolutely.
discussions.
Yeah.
And I remember so many design choices that I think,
Yeah.
we discussed on whether, for example, should we be female first or should we do both male and female
Correct.
at the same time?
Yeah.
Or, for example, should we be marketplace first
Yeah.
or, should we be more D2C first?
Yeah.
And amongst others. But I remember, I think so
Absolutely.
many conversations on these design choices, which is usually not your everyday founder conversation.
Absolutely.
Often it is evaluated.
See, I think as founders, you are lucky if you happen to have a partner where you can say we also got funding from them. The larger part of the discussion should be on how the business should be shaped. And I think we were definitely lucky on that front.
Shaliye, I hope this turns into something very, very large, and I'm quite confident we will.
Thank you.
Thanks.